Kevin Joseph Carney was born on March 2, 1962, at the Tempe Community Hospital in Tempe, Arizona, where his mother Vicky worked as a nurse. Kevin was Paul and Vicky's firstborn, followed by his brothers Brian and Scott. Kevin and his brothers were active in Boy Scouts, and their parents were Scout leaders. They all earned Eagle Scout badges. Kevin also served as an altar boy at Our Lady of Mount Carmel Church in Tempe. He participated in Future Farmers of America, raising animals and crops. He was president of his FFA chapter at Tempe High School in his junior and senior years. Kevin was a year ahead of me in high school. His brother Brian was in my class. I remember walking through the hall at Tempe High with Brian after class one day, and we stopped when he saw Kevin at his locker. He introduced us, and I noticed on the inside of his locker door was the poem titled "Footprints in the Sand." For those of you who may not know what that is, I'll quickly read it now. One night I dreamed a dream. As I was walking along the beach with my Lord, across the dark sky flashed scenes from my life. For each scene I noticed 2 sets of footprints in the sand, one belonging to me and one to my Lord. After the last scene of my life flashed before me, I looked back at the footprints in the sand. I noticed that at many times along the path of my life, especially at the very lowest and saddest times, there was only one set of footprints. This really troubled me, so I asked the Lord about it. Lord, you said once I decided to follow you, you'd walk with me all the way. But I noticed that during the saddest and most troublesome times of my life, there was only one set of footprints. I don't understand why, when I needed you the most, you would leave me. He whispered, "My precious child, I love you and will never leave you, never ever during your trials and testings. When you saw only one set of footprints, it was then that I carried you." This was my first impression of Kevin, and I never forgot it. One reason I never forgot is because Kevin was the type of person who would carry me, or anybody else who needed him, during their trials and testings. Kevin and I were married on a Friday evening on May 4th, 1984. We went on our honeymoon to Oahu, Hawaii, and it gave Kevin a chance to wear all his favorite Hawaiian shirts and buy a few more. Before we got married, Kevin worked for Lockheed Air Terminal fueling airplanes full-time and for Southwest Airlines cleaning airplanes part-time. Then he quit his full-time fueling job, and we hoped he would get a full-time position at Southwest when we came back. Luckily, that's what happened, because we spent all the money in our bank account on our fabulous honeymoon. It sounds crazy now, but we were young and in love, and it was a beautiful adventure. Kevin worked for Southwest Airlines ramp, provisioning, and cargo, but he worked even harder for his fellow employees as a union representative. TWU Local 555. He spent a large chunk of his life working in and around airplanes. He even got his private pilot's license back in the day. I remember they used to report the weather based on the temperature and conditions at the airport, and I would say, "But who lives at the airport?" And Kevin would raise his hand. Kevin and I were married for 10 years before we had our first child, Alicia. Our deal was that I would carry her for the first 9 months, then he would carry her after that. He had experience caring for his younger brothers and other babies, and I had no idea how to do any of that. But he showed me what to do, and it was another beautiful adventure. He called Alicia his princess and did everything he could to make her happy. Then we had our second child, Jared. He was Kevin's little buddy, and it broke his heart to see him cry or be upset. Kevin was a wonderful father, and he worked his schedule so he could be present at our kids' concerts and plays. He even coached their YMCA volleyball teams and chaperoned many school field trips. He always supported my interests in work, such as teaching preschool, making films, and all the YouTube channels Toby, Eunice, and I created. He loved going treasure hunting with us because he enjoyed being outdoors in the mountains and high desert. He was a curious, lifelong learner who read a lot of books and listened to several podcasts to feed his mind every day. Jumping ahead to the last several years, Kevin looked forward to retirement so he would have time to learn and explore all the things that interested him. In fact, he had an app on his phone that kept a countdown to the minute of his retirement date. Some other things that fascinated him were 3D printing toys and gadgets he could give to family and friends, growing a garden and hydroponic plants, learning computer programming, and how to paint scenic landscapes on the computer. He also loved being the anchor on the Cocoa Bird balloon crew. He He had a great time chasing after the balloon with the rest of the crew, and he even learned to pilot. He loved the adventure of it. A favorite story of his was the first time he flew the balloon. It started to rain and hail, and he had to land it fast and hard. Kevin liked to make people laugh, and he would joke to break the tension of any situation. He made friends with the doctors and nurses at the cancer clinic and tried to make their day a little brighter. He asked me to bring in candy or muffins to the hospital crew when I came to visit him in the hospital. In the end, he had to write notes or use gestures because it was too difficult for him to speak. The cancer that started in his tongue had spread throughout his mouth, jaw, and throat, but he didn't give up trying to make people smile. What I learned from Kevin is how to love and be loved, how to take care of babies, how to be generous and patient, how to look for and enjoy the adventures in life, and how to never give up trying to make people smile.